Honorable Minister Rauff, Hakeem.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Honorable Presiding Member, we are discussing today the resolution passed in the Geneva sessions on the 24th of September 2015, co-sponsored by our government. As we know, this is the fourth Human Rights Council resolution that was passed since the year 2012. We also have had before this resolutions on the 22nd of March 2012, then again on the 21st of March 2013, and 27th of March 2014. You would notice that all these resolutions bear the same title: promoting reconciliation, accountability, and human rights in Sri Lanka. Significantly, if you take the individual elements of the resolution, you would note that the exhortation of the Council has been on reconciliation and accountability. In fact, the fact that we co-sponsored the resolution in 2015 represents our voluntary commitment not only to the international community, but also to our people, of our determination to confront the past, end any kind of impunity, achieve reconciliation, and rebuild an inclusive society in which rule of law and democracy flourishes, with no discrimination on the grounds of parochial and sectarian distinctions. Non-inclusive institutions, Mr. Presiding Member, will only take us back to the corrosive decades of impunity which we so earnestly seek to prevent. Mr. Presiding Member, 1 year and 9 months have passed since the adoption of Resolution 30/1 rather. It is timely to take stock of our progress in implementing our commitments and to identify challenges and constraints, and to think up strategies for moving forward. And we should solicit the continued support of the international community through the Human Rights Council to march forward on our onward journey. The Council has certainly set the stage for us when the international community came together in 2015 to co-sponsor a resolution which requires reciprocity on our part. We all recall that not long a time ago, when the internecine war had ended in 2009, upon the conclusion of the visit of the UN Secretary General, we pledged in a joint communique. This was a joint communique issued by the then President and the UN Secretary General on that day, Ban Ki-moon, that there would be some kind of accountability mechanism. All these 4 resolutions that were passed in Geneva have pivoted their pith and substance on the mechanism that was hinted in that communique. Mr. Speaker, long before the last resolution was passed in September 2015, we recall the mechanisms we proceeded to establish. 1, the Lessons Learned and Reconciliation Commission. 2, the Maxwell Paranagama Commission that sat right throughout the length and breadth of the country, and its recommendations on missing persons. In addition to that, our voluntary pledge at the Universal Periodic Review to craft a national action plan on promotion and protection of human rights resulted in a number of consultations with several stakeholders, which finally led to an action plan being presented in Geneva. And we need to bear in mind that the action plan for 2017 to 2021 needs to be worked out while we proceed to overhaul human rights in an expanded chapter in the proposed new constitution. I cannot but resist the observation that from a human rights perspective, the constitutional reform process presents us an important opportunity to rectify structural deficiencies and establish a more comprehensive Bill of Rights. Stronger institutional checks and balances, enhanced constitutional review, improved guarantees for the independence of the judiciary, accountability of our international human rights obligations. These are all parts of which we need to include in our new constitution, which we seek to enact very soon. As for our treaty obligations, our obligation under the Convention Against Torture have already been considered in the Human Rights Council. Our obligation under the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. We need to also very carefully study the concluding observations issued by the respective committees at the end of these sessions. And it bears recalling that no non-implementation of the observations of these committees cumulatively add up to our woes at the international forums. We would bear in mind that it is not only Human Rights Council that watches over us, but also treaty bodies like the Human Rights Committee and on Torture and Committee on Discrimination Against Women. Now, we need to come together in a spirit of togetherness to rectify the sorry state of affairs and mold it so that we will be able to be responsible, accountable international citizens, so that we will redeem the lost image of this country in the international stage when it comes to the matters of human rights.
You have
Sometimes
one minute more.
Yes. No, I must also come to just one point. Now, regarding this issue of some xenophobic forces which had taken root after particularly the victory of the war, this country was once again plunged into a hate culture. A culture of hate speech seems to have engulfed this nation. And we seem to be once again pussyfooting in dealing with the offenders when it comes to hate speech. Now, yesterday I see today in the Veera Kesari headlines talking about 3 organizations warning the government not to take offenders into custody. They've gone to that extent of trying to protect people engaging in hate speech. If you would observe, Mr. Presiding Member, this issue relating to religious intolerance was introduced quite late, after 2012, after these incidents of religious hatred began to spread all over the country. In 1 year alone, there were almost 313 incidents in the year 2013 and 14. So therefore, the proposers of the resolution had to include issues relating to religious intolerance. And once again, we are faced with the same issues coming back to haunt us. Yesterday, a shop belonging to a Muslim in Vijayarama Junction had been set on fire. And funnily enough, I am told that some lame excuses are being given, saying that this owner of the shop had tended to set fire to his shop in order to claim insurance. Whereas the footage from the closed-circuit cameras that have been fixed in a close-by shop shows a chap, a fellow coming on a push bicycle, getting off, going and setting fire, and running away from the place. There had been some eyewitnesses who have seen the incident. With all that, the law enforcement authorities are still unable to bring culprits to the,
Yes.
to the book.
No, wind up, please.
Almost 16 incidents since 15th of April had taken place. And all of us, ministers and members in the government, have made pleas to the law enforcement authorities, the police, and all of these have fallen in deaf ears. And therefore, it is important that the government implements the law to the letter.
Thank you.